And welcome to the Albion TV presents the AO Daily Show, your source of real news in an unreal world, keeping you up to date on the latest news, events, and the great community of Albion Online. Today is Thursday, the 2nd of January, 2020, and I am your host, Shozen. And sitting with me, not really, but I don't know, he's here with me today, my
Hello.
co-host, Bogul. How are you doing today, Bogul?
Good morning. I'm doing better. I'm still a little bit sick, but I think we can get this. How do you say this baby on the road? We can throw this baby
Yeah,
on the
we're,
road and start the
We're gonna
show.
throw this baby in the bathwater and drag it down. No, we're gonna take it down the road. We're gonna get the show started, Bogle. I
Sure.
don't think we should
Okay.
use any baby analogies, anything to do with the road. No bath. This is just doesn't seem to
Okay.
work.
Okay. All right. All right.
Throwing babies.
Never do that. No.
No,
Yeah. What's on the shows in today?
it's a war report, Bogle.
Yay.
We're
What's
gonna
that
do a
mean?
war report, a war report on the entire Avalonian invasion season so far. We're gonna look at all the GVGs that have happened so far,
Mhm.
who's been how active, and basically how activity has gone since the beginning to now. What changes we've seen, who's really controlling what, and who's fighting who. Because we've seen a change in a lot of different aspects of the world of Avalon and, well, Albion. Bogle, this is going to be an issue going forward when we have Avalon, Albion, and what is it? The Abalonians, the water creatures that are going to be attacking soon.
The Abylonian invasion,
Mm-hmm.
the third phase.
The
Sh-
third phase.
yes. Yes. Yes.
Breaking news. You heard it here first.
Um. Yes, but we do always have PSAs first, so I think we should get these out of the way first, and then we can sort of get through the meat of the show. Just a very few reminders for everybody. We do have the Frost Challenge back. The month has started, and you can get to that nice Frost Ram again. It is, you can see the news post. There's a nice art piece that we didn't see before as well. I'll link it in a chat. And with the new month, of course, it was the end of the year. And that was the cause for some review.
Is that IGT right there,
Where?
hiding around the corner? I grind this. That's him right there, the dagger guy, right? Looks just like him.
Well, there are two more posts, a mid-season war report. That is a little bit of a history of what happened so far. If you have missed that, you can check that out. It is a nice write-up by Prince Caspian, of course. And then there is the whole 2019 year in review post as well. 1, 2, 3, copy paste. There you go. We talked about this yesterday, so we won't spend any time today, I suppose. I just want to mention it.
Yeah. Well, I think we talked about this a couple of times now. We've talked about it 2 days ago. We talked about it yesterday, and we're talking about it again today. If you haven't read it by now, go ahead and check it out. And wow, Bogle, every time I look at this, right now I'm looking at the rankings and still seeing RAQ above Money Guild. That's kind of shocking.
Well, we will get to the newest rankings, the latest rankings later today, but we do actually have a bit of official news. Oh, there's the community roundup from 2019 as well. Copy paste, there you go. But I wanted to talk about the actual news piece of today, which is the special invasion announcement. So we do have Saturday's invasion brings a fearsome new foe. An announcement. Apparently, it's a big ball of light with metal arms. Boss. Shozen. What the hell is this?
I don't know, like a mechanized creature composed of armor and energy. And I wonder, Bogle, here's the thing. And we've been talking about this. This is, I said, we're seeing a new phase, or is this going to be like the new type of technology, or is this just a boss type, or is this just a creature type? Is just something we're going to see in a in a faction? Is it a faction of just living energy? Is it all of the creatures are going to be based around this idea of living energy, or is it controlled energy? Is the faction itself a group of beings that are controlling the energy and manipulating them to be,
The
you know,
Avalonians.
yes, is this a tool, or is this the Avalonian? That's what I'm
Interesting.
wondering. Is
Interesting.
this is that thing in the
Do we get
center
like
there,
a
that ball of light, its heart and its soul, like its being? Is it real? Is it living? Or is it just a mechanized,
maybe we get some StarCraft Kerrigan style Queen of the Avalonians at some points? That would be funny.
Mhm.
But this is pure speculation.
Well,
The
I
thing we
do know
know,
there are some interesting bosses in those raid dungeons, Vogel.
yeah, I mean, and this boss does just look like one of them, right? This boss,
Well, this is a world boss. This is
yeah, yeah,
different. This guy's different than that. He's an Avalonian world boss that's out there for groups of 10 to 20,
mhm.
and it's going to reward season points. So we've been talking about for a while now that there were going to be more and more ways to earn season points, and now we have another boss along with the mages to earn season points, and we already see that the groups that are very good at it are getting better at it. Like we've seen Arrow 4 is kind of like pulling away now. RAQ past Money Guild, they were doing very good with the world fighting. So it's going to be interesting.
I mentioned that the thing looks kind of like one of the Elite dungeon boss encounters, because if you remember, we watched the speedrun event a while back where some guilds could try out the new Elite dungeons on the playground, and one of these bosses is a big energy golem, and it looks, based on the concept art, very similar to the thing we saw in game. So it might be just that one. I don't know if it has similar skills, similar abilities. But if you are interested in studying these, maybe you can watch some of these videos back, and maybe you can get a little bit of a leg up on this Saturday when we will have the next invasion, right?
Oh gosh, Bogle, the next invasion, and then a week later we have the next invasion and GVG's end on the 11th. That's not very far away, guys. That's 9 days away. That's wow. This is going to be a crazy period of time, Bogle.
Yeah, the next
Gonna be
3
around a
weeks,
lot.
2 weeks will be packed with invasions.
You guys are going to see a lot of me. Wow.
Yeah, with hype, with opportunities to generate season points. Two interesting things stand out, of course. Not tomorrow. On the Saturday, the scores will double for the season, and 1 week later, on January 11th, the regular GVGs will come to an end, and that will be the end of an era.
Wow. We only have 9 days left of GVGs.
Yeah.
And that's weird because, I mean, we're going to get into this a little bit more, but one of the things we've noticed is the people who've GVG'd for the last 2.5 years are kind of taking a break. Like, not break. I don't want to say taking a break because that's too much. That's too strong of a word to say. They're slowing down. They're really slowing down. We've seen a lot of slowing down this last 10 days.
I mean, it's been the holiday season. It's been a time to relax at home, to invite your aunt over to give you some schnapps. It's been a reason to take Albion a little bit slower. But now we're back on the regular
slower
schedule,
unless you're Torther, who decided to kick it up a notch. Man, went crazy over the holidays. Had to go nuts. I don't know what he did to. How much eggnog does it take to GVG that many times a day? That's what I want to know. What's he putting in his eggnog? You're honest. Yeah, you were big talk before the show, weren't you, Boga?
I can't say that on the show. That would be endangering for our stream. Yes, but that is the news announcement that happened today. We do have something to look forward on this Saturday too. It will surely influence how the invasion day will happen, and you can watch everything here live at 17:45 UTC, where Shozen and Lupak will be live casting the EU invasion, and then at 00:45, or when does it start? The NA
Well, okay,
portion.
so at 0:30, a 15-minute counter will go live on
I
your
see.
stream. And that is us counting down to us going live. Look, we've already gone live by then. Like if you see the counter,
Delay and all.
we are live. But we're on a 15-minute delay. So you won't see actual action until about 15 minutes before the hour. But again, that's from 15 minutes before. So
yes. And that, of course, the recommendation. And as always, ask your GM, ask your officers how you can prepare for this event, because it's always nice to, be ready and don't have to deal with so much of officer PMs pinging everybody 15 times on reset day, guys, who didn't take that 4.1, guys, somebody, hello. And if you can reduce that action a little bit, it's always very appreciated. Okay.
yeah, go help your GMs out. Get ready.
Wednesday war report and a Thursday. Usually on Thursdays we do the econ show.
We should probably do that now.
I suppose the only thing we can do today, because we really wanted to talk about GVGs one more time before there are no more GVGs, we can look at the gold price really quick over the last 4 weeks. It actually recently hit a almost new low.
It's getting there. And now I've predicted, for a while now that I thought it was going to get to 26. And we keep seeing it get to about 28. And then we have the city's auction start again, right? That's about to start at the end of the week, right? It's at the beginning of next week is when the auction start again, right, Bogul?
Something like this, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's when they start again. So then we're going to see the price of gold rise up again. And I'm wondering if we're going to see a repeat, of what we've already seen. If you look at right now on the stats, you can see that 4 weeks ago we had a dip. That is our continuous dip that went down for, I guess that was about 2 months that dip was going down for. Then we saw a spike again, and that was right before auctions, and now it's been going right back down to 28. And I wonder if we're going to see that happen again, or if we're going to see it continue to go down right down as people start returning and buying gold, because that's what's happening right now is people are returning to the game. I'm pretty sure everybody in chat right now can think of somebody they know who recently came back to the game. And I mean, you don't even have to look that far. If you look to your left of your Twitch stream, you can find at least 3 people that you know who've returned to the game. I mean, people are coming back, they're enjoying it, and they're really
getting
looking forward
ready
to
for Queen.
Yeah. So I think that there's the opportunity coming up in the next 2 days, really, to do a little bit of speculation with gold, but you have to measure that same thing against the return of more players. At what point does the return of players and their influx of gold outweigh the general, the silver change that occurs once a month with the auctions? That's the only thing we have there. But let's move on to that war report, Bogul.
I want to abuse my position as this host to acquire information about what to speculate on, because a lot of people tell me I should, wait for people to come back and have everything teleported back to the cities, and then buy up a bunch of cheap resources that people just want to convert into silver, and then have a good stockpile. But I feel like everybody's going to do that, so I need a new plan, and I'm not quite sure what to do yet.
Well, Bogle, I saw a plan that worked for somebody earlier today. Remember we were chatting earlier right before the show. It's like, it looks like energy prices had a little bit of a spike. If you go into go over to the marketplace real quick and take a look at siphoned energy, somebody found a way to make a good bit of profit.
What do you mean?
Just head over there. Somebody was selling siphoned energy about, I would say, like, was it 14 hours ago for somewhere in the neighborhood of 50,000 silver per, and sold about 500 of them.
Ouch.
Yeah.
So somebody just added an additional 0 and bought up the whole market?
Bought out the entire market, got somebody to bite, because you only need to get one person to bite, right? Like if all the silver, all the energy on the market is just somewhere along the same price, right? It's all right around the same price. You can just buy out that market, it's not going to hurt you any, right? Because you have something that has maintained a steady value. Look at the 4-week value of that. That just it does not. It's not going to hurt you any. You're going to be fine. It stays right around that 5,000, mark. You can do that. But you see the opportunity to make a quick profit on that, buy it all out, throw it up for some ridiculous price that looks so close to what it was before. Boom. That was pretty impressive.
Maybe somebody was gambling on people being oh my god, do you see that 25 million for one energy? Maybe if somebody was gambling on people being not quite clear-minded during their New Year's celebration.
New Year's, yeah. They saw our show about, just being hungover the day after New Year's, and they were like, I bet you I can make some good profit here. That had to take quite a bit of change, though, to pull that off and buy out the market. And then to put it up at something so similar, it was just put up for 50,500, so that it looked just the same, but with one extra zero.
Yeah. Oh, well, F to you also, if you spent your wallet on this. But
I'm not going to say his name, but I did when I was advertising for the show today. Somebody said that they just bought a horse for, I think they said 5 million silver, like a T3 horse for 5 million silver, because somebody manipulated the market in the crossroads. Come on, guy. Oh, rough. I can't help you with that. I can't give you back your silver, man. It just.
Let's talk about the season before we go into remembering the poor fools who had a bad day. First things first, the season rankings, you see them on the screen. We still have Arrow 404 in the first place, the only Crystal Guild so far, followed by RAQ in second place with 155k, and third place.
They're just pulling away from Money Guild here. They are not making it close anymore. Huh? Yeah. Well, no. They've gotten 5,000 points since we last looked a week ago.
Is that a lot?
No, it's not. No, it's terrible. Yeah, that's like stopping. That's RAQ, for those who don't know, is a Russian conglomerate guild.
Mm-hmm.
I see people asking in chat, what is it? It's all right. What we see, I don't want to say every season, but often, is the Russians will separate into what seems like 3 different factions. And one of them is always a group of lots of different smaller Russian guilds that combine to make a new Russian guild, and they push for a little while, and then they stop. And now we're seeing that from RAQ. We've seen it from Shiro's groupings a lot, but I don't know. RAQ isn't stopping. RAQ is pushing and going forward, and it's another, reconsolidation for the 17th time of the smaller Russian communities to just go forward, and they're doing great. They're doing really good. So, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about them because it is the Russian community. It's always a little bit harder to get really good information on them, but they are doing amazing. They're doing a lot of overworld stuff. They're competing in the GVGs. We have stats on that coming up. We'll show those off. But yeah, they're doing really well. Nothing but praise for RAQ and the job they've done. Dynastia also doing very well. They've been pushing along. They've been into like 3 different alliances now, though. This is a continuous change. This is now. Well, they were with Narnasha. They were with what was the other guild that was here right along with them not too long ago. But yeah, Dynastia. This is how many different alliances?
I don't even
in 2 months.
I don't even remember.
This is a lot. I think this is their 4th alliance, and now they're finally in charge of one, and they're taking over a lot of the map. If you want to go ahead and check out northwestern Glauvia, I think is where their home is, Bogul. If you want to take a quick look at the map.
Northwestern Glauvia alliances. There you go. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're doing fairly well.
Huh?
Yep. The thing with Glauvia, though, and I want to talk about this real quick since we're doing a war report. Glauvia is the least consolidated continent. There are more people fighting for Glauvia, alliance-wise, than any of the other continents. Whereas you see Anglia, the other double continent, is basically on the west. On the far west, you have Phrasing.
Mhm.
Then you have Zorn. Then you have Arrow 404. Then Ego. That's it. I mean, there are a couple of small territories over near Ego, I believe, that are another guild,
Mhm.
but it's just two. Yeah. See,
Money
they're
Guild? No.
well, it's
Yeah.
it's one of their allies, and I'm not counting home plots, Bogle.
Oh, okay.
Home plots, yeah, there's going to be a couple of home plots out there, but there's just I think two towers out there. One of them CIR. If you look over there, you can see the Poe Tower to your right, and then right above, right in the center of your map, there you can see another one. I can't see who it is though on your screen, but that what I was trying to point out is that Glauvia is the only place where you have anybody really fighting for it. You go to the other continents, basically Poe controls Cumbria, Money Guild, well, Upset and Squawk are fighting for Mercia, and it's not really even a fight anymore because what happens on reset day, Squawk takes it. Any other day where there's a fight, it's basically some Upset like 5-man team rolling in and not fighting anybody and just getting a free territory because they decide to declare an attack. I seen 5 fights, 0, 150 no shows.
Wow.
Not great for really big territories. We're talking about like Well of the World and stuff like that.
It's getting to the point where it's a serious consideration whether or not it's actually still worth fighting over them, because a week later, 2 weeks later, it's just going to be gone, and now it's 1 week later, right?
Well, that's where you're wondering, are people like just not fighting because the territories don't matter as much and you really are just going to lose them in a few days? Or is it, do you see any push to just get in the last GVGs before they're gone? Are we going to see any of that in the last week? Because we really have seen in the last 10 days a real decline in territory fights as they're just going to be given up. And you got to think that's the reason why. They're not as valuable. You're not going to hold them very long. And while I would love to see people fight over them the last week in which they can get some good fights until the Crystal League really sorts itself out, I don't know if we're going to get it. I hope we do. I hope we get some people who just really go, you know what? We're going to fight, because there are some people who are, and we can talk about them right now. We can talk about Torthor, Bogle. In the last 10 days, you know who's the only guild whose numbers have gone up?
In GVGs?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ironborn, yeah.
Ironborn. And they've gone up pretty good. I mean, they were getting, like, I would say they were doing probably about somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.5 GVGs a day during their peak of this season. And then in the last 10 days, they picked it up to almost 4 a day, which, doesn't sound like a lot, right? 4 doesn't sound like a lot when we used to compare it to Money Guild's 15.
I mean, if you want all of Eastern Anglia, then sure.
Yeah. I mean, Money Guild's the only ones who even came close. And you got to give some credit to Torthor and the boys who've come out of, I don't know, this 2019 has been a rough year for Ego and Ironborn in general. We saw a couple of different situations where Ego split. I mean, Ego really controlled most of Anglia for a very long time, Bogle. When we started doing this show, that Anglia was Ego territory. I mean, it was Ego and phrasing. It was, and by phrasing, it was like phrasing on one half and then Ego on the other half, and Ironborn or phrasing. Which one were you going to choose in a fight? I think you were probably going to say you were going to choose Ironborn. Just very strong guild at the time. But then they had that first breakup, and then they had the second breakup, and then they had crazy accusations of, I guess I don't want to go too much into it, but doxing and other IRL harassment. Really rough year for Ego. So it's kind of cool to see them rebuilding themselves, getting strong once again, even if it's in a less competitive state right now. Like, the world is probably a little less competitive, right? Like, I don't want to say like it's an easy mode, but right now people are not fighting for their lives, tooth and nail. It's getting a little bit relaxed out there.
So do you want to do a little bit of a look at the stats that we have from the last, what is this, 6 weeks, 6.5 weeks.
Yeah, we have 6 weeks. We have the last 10 days. We have some good stats, but we can look at the whole season. Let's pull that up. I mean, you did a great job getting all these numbers for us to get an idea of what the ratio of GVGs were to crystals, how many people were doing a day, how many people had done over the season, the percentage wise, who was doing what. I mean, we don't have wins and losses, which is a real pain in the ass. But there's really no way for us to get that.
Yeah, the
without
data
doing like the counting, without counting each one.
It's
really
the,
a pain
the
in the
data is
ass.
kind of messy, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get this done, but I did make a little sheet here that we will scroll through and we'll pick up some interesting things. The first thing I wanted to mention briefly is that we are missing in our data set of about 1,700, 1,800 GVGs and crystals. We are missing about 20 to 30 matches because that is guilds that showed up once through a war camp in the data, and then we couldn't see them again. And then, so some of the control sums might be a little bit short, but the majority is giving us a very good picture. And the first thing before we dive into the details is I wanted to mention that this season we had about 40% of the GVGs happening in Gluvia, with followed by Siluria 20%, which is, I mean, of course, the size of the continent is interesting, but just in terms of hotspots activities, that's interesting. Mercia only had about 6% of the GVGs this season so far.
Really?
Yeah.
6%.
Anglia has 13% and Cumbria has 8.2%, and the Royals actually have 11%. But that's still an interesting side observation. And of course, these all include no-shows. So if
there's a lot, there have been a lot of no-shows. Yeah. But like that's what we were saying though before. Like the stats really show out what we were seeing right there on the map. Is that Glauvia looks like it's just the most quilt-like of any of the continents right now. It's not very, homogeneous. It doesn't have a single, alliance. It's many, 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 many alliances all fighting each other for a territory for a day.
Right.
Whereas when you go down to like Anglia, it's 3 alliances fighting for a shift in territory, and a lot of it has really slowed down because they know they're not really fighting for anything long term.
Yeah. The next thing I'm going to show on the screen is I will filter the sheet by most GVGs throughout the whole season. The data is from the 17th through the 1st. So it's missing like 2 half days, more or less. But there we see the top 5 in activity. First place is Money Guild with 320 GVGs over the whole season so far, followed by Blue Army actually with 176, June and third with 150, Arrow 404 and Ironborn with just over 100. And then it still has Ecstasis that were very strong at the beginning of the season, but we can see later that this dropped off tremendously. We see a similar picture if we filter for the most crystals. That said, though, it shifts a little bit where Arrow 404 then goes
Arrow
to
404,
second place.
yeah. Arrow 404 is, I don't know. I wonder if they had more like robust competitors on their continent, and if their continent was really, more valuable, if they would have more ZV, like not ZV, more regular territorial GVGs. Because it doesn't seem like there's a lack of bloodthirstiness on their part. They really go after their territory. Like they fought Zorn a lot, but that's all they really had to fight. Like Ego's not coming over towards them. Ego was taking out the little groups around them. Phrasing wasn't, taking them out. What is Phrasing's new alliance even called right now? But they weren't going after Arrow 404 as much as they were trying to take out those smaller elements that were, part of their former alliance before, and reestablishing their own, territory, the same territory they've had for the entire year. They're not really crossing the borders. So, but wow, the crystal activity of Arrow 404, how many, what is it, 4 teams, I believe, they're doing a lot.
Hmm.
They're doing a lot. Same builds, all of them, double healers.
I mean, the interesting part about this data is that it's the whole season, right? And it doesn't show the most recent trend. So that is heavily influenced by the start of the season that
Yes.
started out very differently than what we see now. In terms of total activity over the whole season, that's a similar picture with Money Guild being in first and Arrow 404 being in second. But I think now it's time to look at what happened over the last weeks.
The last few weeks. Yeah, that's where we really see some changes here because what we did see, now we've talked about this a lot. We've talked about Money Guild's like decline in activity and why it came about. You know, they were bashing their head against 404 and the point split. Upset is an alliance of many, many guilds. They did not want to kick out a bunch of guilds just to satisfy some need for a gem or a statue in Carleone. They just said, we're going to GVG as necessary only, not bang our heads against some unobtainable goal. Because with the point split, we've seen guilds that are alone just getting huge amounts of points, just huge amounts of points. And
So in the first 2 weeks of the season, we saw Money Guild in June being very high in rankings. First week had Money Guild with 86 GVGs. Second week we had Money Guild with 96 GVGs. In the second week, Ecstasis was still very heavily competing.
very,
with
very
55.
heavy. Yeah, very. It existed. It existed.
Yeah, and even
mean,
our DT was still in the top 5. Blue Army didn't do a strong start. They sort of picked up in the second week a little bit. They slowed down in the third week, Blue Army at least. But I think around the third week or so,
Well,
we
there's
can
a thing
see
here.
that trend changing.
With Blue Army, I want to state this, and this is very important. It's actually their activity didn't change. They were GVGing under June,
Oh,
and then June started GVGing under Blue Army. They didn't care who had the flag up, basically. They were all just kind of fighting together. And you see the same 60 GVGs happening all 3 weeks until you get to the fourth week, where the numbers just start to go down a bit, I believe. Actually, wait. Actually, no, they don't. They just flip again. They just flop again. That's what happened once again. We just see them flop. It's yeah.
yeah. I mean, by the third week, we see RAQ making its way in the top 4. We see Arrow 404 being in top 3 in terms of GVG activity still, which doesn't include Crystal GVGs. And we see Money Guild sort of taking a hit in terms of activity strongly. Before then, by the fourth week, by the end of the fourth week, we randomly see Zorn shoot up in the top 3. But we actually see Blue Army overtake Money Guild in terms of activity. And by that time, by the fourth week of the season, Money Guild had a third of the daily GVGs or the weekly GVGs that it had at the beginning. And so I'm wondering what happened. I mean, I suppose the fourth week of the season was mid of December, right? So
Well, no, it's
point,
right when I think it's right around when Derek decided, they weren't gonna strive for
right.
first place and they were just gonna GVG for fun and be more about contact. They kind of just pulled back and they said, we're not gonna just bang our head against a wall anymore. It's not worth it. It's the holidays are coming out. Don't burn people out. They switched from, a heavy emphasis on 5v5s to starting to train for ZVZs more and put in a lot of work into ZVZs. Sam says that he was facing 8K players, in another alliance. I don't know which alliance that is, but
yeah, I mean,
it's tough.
There is some talk always, but it's nice to see the numbers and the actual data that's coming out. We didn't see Zorn, for example, at that time having so high numbers, but yeah, that's sort of the time when it slowed down. And then by the fifth week of the season, we see Dynastia still doing some work, and Nashana actually doing things. That's right before the Christmas time, AW Gaming being in the top 5. And Blue Army just, overtaking and keeping strong. And then just after Christmas, we see
Well, Christmas
a
is
very different picture.
well, Christmas itself, that whole week, I think the only person who was really, really active that week is Torthor. But we see
RAQ.
Ironborn and RAQ up there.
Hmm.
So, Torthor's out there. He's got his guys ready. They're just going probably 7 GVGs on Christmas alone. They were basically opening presents and calling, like attacking territories, getting no shows, calling it presents. And you get a territory, and you get a territory, and you get a territory. He's giving out territories to different guild members, saying this one is yours, Merry Christmas. Showing up in his 8.3 masterpiece to Anglia GVGs. It's how you roll when you're Torthor on a Christmas day. RAQ, well, I think the Russians celebrate Christmas the day before, right? So
I don't know.
I don't know, but I think they were just like opportunity knocks and took control of some territories. I really wish I knew more about RAQ. I just can't make fun of them because I don't know enough, to be honest.
Maybe we should try to get an interview with them for the next or in 2 weeks, right?
Again, they're Russian.
Sure.
I
They
don't
probably
speak
have
Russian.
someone who can
I
translate.
can probably find at least a line member, even if it's just somebody who plays, and can say, yeah, we kicked some butt. That's all I need from them, really. And
RAQ, if you're listening, message Shozen if you want to do an interview and talk about your season achievements, because we do have some open interview slots coming up on the time after Queen, where we still need a few people to talk to Shozen about stuff. We the 6 week, more or less what we just described. Money Guild a little bit down. I think the last thing that I have here, 29th until the 1st, is not really a good data set, because the it's just so few days, right?
yeah,
but
well,
we still
it
see
does show. It shows a
Ironborn
trend.
obligating
It shows.
on the
Yeah,
top.
we see a continuing trend is that we just see fewer and fewer GVGs as the days go on. We went from guilds having 25 GVGs combined in a day.
Actually,
During the early part of the season with Money Guild, they were doing 15 GVGs a day, like territorial GVGs a day. That's just a huge number. Now, 4 is a lot. Now 4 is a lot. So that's where we've gone in the just the pure activity rate of GVGs has just gone down a lot. And I hope that we can see people taking this activity level, like the activity levels that Money Guild used to have, and bringing them into their ZVZs for this next phase in Queen, where you're going to have the opportunity to go ZVZ every hour if you really want it during the day, and go find somebody whose territory is available, and you can go bang, and there's at least going to be somebody there to defend it. You can go get content. Doesn't mean you'll win it. Doesn't mean you necessarily want to win it. Like, take control of it. I mean, sometimes just killing people and taking their stuff is worth it. Go in, raid it, take their stuff, roll back out, go to the next one, see if they can respond. I don't know.
Yeah. So it's interesting to see these kind of trends, right? In terms of activity, in terms of who is having a good season, who's having a bad season, who's having, different activity levels. And I think the thing to observe, or the hard thing, I suppose, to observe for the rest of the season, is how people's ZVZ activity will scale up or down or change. Because we are having trouble finding good data on ZVZ activity, right? This is something we would like to do, give everybody a sort of overview about how or whether or not people are winning in ZVZs, and where the stats lie in that case. But there is no good data if you don't scrape all of the kills from the kill board API and then make your own database, and that's something we haven't quite managed to set up yet. If you know somebody who wants to donate that data set to me so I can try to do some ZVZ analysis, I'd be happy to look at this. But one of these projects for the future, probably post Queen, because then seeing who wins in ZVZs is going to be really interesting. Especially if you can then somehow match that with a rough gear value, and then you can point at the website and be like,
I'm working on that.
We just cost you guys a billion silver and you suck or something.
We're working on that. We're honestly we're working on a way to try to get that done so that we can tell how much each battle was silver wise, and then even take that silver value and then correlate it to a dollar value, because we think that would be an amazing way to say, yeah, this was a $20,000 fight.
But it's hard to do, right? Because you have to have.
Yeah, it's very, very hard to do. It's very. Yeah.
Well, for the future projects that should be interesting, we'll definitely try that. But for now, the interesting thing is to keep up with the upcoming invasions, to figure out how people will do during these, and whether or not people will still find options to Crystal GVG, or if they just completely give up on the GVG scene, which is expectable, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about before we start doing these shout outs, Bogul?
Shout-outs. We do have shout-outs.
Yeah, because we've definitely run out of time. And we could talk about these stats. There's a lot more things that we could talk about. I would find them interesting. Maybe some people would find them interesting. But right now, I feel like we need to get to the raffle, get to the shout-outs, and get to Lupac. Find out if he's even here.
Sure.
So, shout-outs first?
Yes. Oh, I just got hit with a cough. Yes. Twitch shoutouts. Twitch has this new thing that when you watch us, that you get some points, and then you can turn that into a shoutout. We're still trying to figure out pricing, but we have a few, right?
Yeah, we have some.
You do one, I do one.
Okay, yeah. Who goes first?
Just say something.
Shout out to AW Gaming, #1 RMT Silver Sellers. What? Modi? That doesn't seem honest or real, but it was a shout out.
Shout out to Fist Friends, Ugo Dango. Sure. All right.
Yeah. Dead Lizard wants to shout out to the dudes not scared to dismount and rumble in the jungle.
I feel like that's a reference to something I don't know. Do you know what this means? I don't. We do have another one by Dead Lizard. To I grind this. You claim to hate the game, but keep coming back like that dude in Brokeback Mountain. Is that like a weird joke?
Yeah, that's a weird joke.
I didn't.
He doesn't like it, but he keeps coming back. I don't know. I didn't see the movie.
Oh.
Ugu Dango, your second shout out isn't gonna happen. Boom, rejected. Kilo Streams, do you think that this chain of reset days will burn people out? How do you feel about those reset days will change the rankings? I don't think that the reset days are going to be really changing the rankings, because I don't think things are going to get held long enough to, really give points for territories anymore. I think we're going to see the things giving points are crystals, because people are going to continue to do those. World bosses, because people are going to continue to do those and have more of them available. And that's really where you're going to see the majority of your points, from castles, crystals, and world bosses. And I think that Arrow 404 isn't going to really have a hard time with those. Blue Army might get more points, because you'll see more world bosses being important, castles being a slightly more important situation, without the territories really giving points. Maybe Blue Army will get some more points, but I don't think it's going to be enough to get them up there. As I just mentioned them because they are one of the more active guilds that don't have a huge number of points. So
one more shout out from Decaludes to Jackie Ace. Shout out. Another shout out from Fun Stealer to everybody. Happy New Year, all. I hope everyone's year is as joyful as mine.
Joyful.
Joyful as mine. Also
Yeah.
join conflict.
Join conflict.
Join.
I think you need to have 1 million fame at this point. I think that's their standard.
Really?
Doom Chinchilla, shout out to Torthor. I'm ready for those 20 GVGers all ZVZing in 8.3 MP. Hell yeah, you know it. Go for it, Doom Chinchilla. I'd love to see it. We should do an interview sometime. Next. You got it, Bogle?
Mr. Cookie Thief shouts out his boys at Try Hard as I. He's loving you, Reds. Keep up the shitty work. What? That's not a shout out. That's a diss. Boo.
Yeah.
All right,
boom.
Nice.
Coyote Max. Coyote Max. Coyote Max. I'm gonna go with Coyote. What are the crafting and refining bonuses for hideouts once Queen comes? I just care about general percentage with and without focus. I don't know what they're gonna be, but they're gonna be. Bogle knows.
So if you want to know exactly, they should be on the test server, right? So if you start the Albion client, there's a way to join the staging server, and there you can click then on the zones like you can right now. And I don't know if they have this little thing that you have in the cities there. This little, where is it? On the top right, on the window, where you could find out per zone. I don't know if they have that in the UI there, but I think they do. That said, they are going to be 15 to like 30 percentage, and it's depending on the zone and the biome. So there is no real straight answer. The best answer is try to log into the playground, or no, the staging server rather, and click on the map, and there you can see the various ones depending on the biome. I think it's 15 to 20 something though, maybe 30. I could be wrong.
All right. Is there anything else we need to do before we take a short break and then come back for Lupac and the crystals?
Give people gold?
I did that. I gave people gold.
More gold?
Yeah. Well, Big Ann needs to respond, and then we'll have 3 winners in the first 30 minutes, or first, what is it? 50 minutes or whatever. You're right. One more. That's true. It's been too long. One more. Lucius, Blake, and Big Ann are the 2 who have to respond and send me a message. But everybody else, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back in a few minutes. If not, you can catch us Monday through Friday at 18 UTC right here on twitch.tv/Albion Online. Because we do a lot of fun things here, don't we, Bogle?
Yes.
Yeah.
One of them is giving away gold. One of them is talking about GVGs. We will probably talk about GVGs a little bit more in the future. And we are still trying to figure out our new schedule post-Queen. We haven't nailed that down 100%, but we will probably keep a lot of the daily show and then do some coverage on Saturdays, and definitely the invasion days and the events on Sundays, the highest level crystals, for sure.
Yeah, we'll definitely have those. We'll be doing a lot more Saturdays for sure.
Yeah. And again, one more time, the call for interviews. If you want to be interviewed by the mighty, great, charming Shozen and be here on this very show, message him and he will try to set up a time, and then we can put them out sort of in the week post-Queen. And you can, talk about everything you ever wanted in regards to Albion with Shozen.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's also just basically if you guild leaders, well-known players, anybody who's does GVGs, leads ZVZs, anything like that. We're looking for people who can tell us what their feelings on Queen are, really, because Bogul will be gone for a week, starting on the 22nd, which is right after like Queen comes out. He's gonna be gone for 10 days. So I've got to get lots of interviews with you guys.
Yeah. Okay. 1 or 2 minute break while we change a channel and while we look for the lost Lupac and see if we can find him. And thanks for watching. See you in just a few minutes. Bye.
Bye.